Good morning, everybody. Welcome to, I was going to say to today's theological leftover. I guess it qualifies as that. I hadn't used that title in a while, but this is kind of a leftover. I have been, this year, I had read no G.K. Chesterton ever before, just quotes. And I'd read enough good quotes that I'm like, I need to start reading some of his actual books. So the first half of this year, I've been reading a lot of Chesterton, and you've probably figured that out if you've been following these videos or any of the other stuff that I put out, because he's very quotable, and so I've used a lot of his quotes. But I'm done for a while reading Chesterton. Need to take a break. Need to read some fiction, some good fiction. But I do have maybe not the last quote that I share with him, probably not, but I have one, the last one for a while. And it's going to require a little explanation, but I think it's really good. He says, they, and I don't remember who they are, but he says they actually complain of the paradox for not being a platitude. They complain about the paradox not being a platitude. Now, I know that's going to take some definition of terms, but this is really a great statement. This is a profound statement. A paradox is when you put two things that don't seem to belong together. In fact, you bind them together. And when you do that, it creates tension. Now, here's the thing. You know this is true in, I think, every aspect of our life. The moment we sense tension, what is it our desire to do? We want to see that tension resolved, right? By nature, that's how it is. And it's true with paradoxes, too. It's true when we put two ideas together that don't seem to belong together. It creates tension. We just want to see it resolved. Now, you may be someone who says, no, I love a good paradox. Well, that's sort of like saying you love coffee. That's probably because you've had a lot of it to drink and it's an acquired taste. You've heard people say that. Paradoxes are an acquired taste. You have to kind of wrestle with them for a while, really, to appreciate them. But by nature, if we had to choose, we'd rather see things resolved than in tension with one another, right? And that's why Chesterton says that they complain about paradoxes not being platitudes. Because a platitude is a statement that is made and it's used so often that it doesn't really require any thought anymore. It's kind of like a cliche, right? So those are the two terms when he says they actually complain of the paradox for not being a platitude. The problem is this: the Bible is full of paradoxes. And we get ourselves into all kinds of trouble when we try to turn the paradox that creates this tension, this theological tension, into a platitude or a cliche. These paradoxes are all over the place in the scriptures. It's something that we commonly run across. Two things that don't seem to go together, that are put together, and we want them to be reconciled. We replace them with cliches, with platitudes, with statements that are used so often that they don't even require any thought anymore. I'm not going to use any specific examples, but you can supply your own. But when that happens, when we start falling into platitudes, one of the reasons we like that is because then we don't have to think about it anymore. But that's not actually good. And this is at least one of the values of paradoxes. Paradoxes demand mental wrestling, right? They demand contemplation. A paradox, it's like it's stuck in your head and it won't leave your thoughts. Paradoxes are continually coming up in conversations, in theological conversations. And I mean, I've been doing this for a while, and the theological journals and things come out, and it's the same things over and over again that we're talking about, thanks to the paradoxes. And that may at first be a little bit irritating. Can't we just resolve this? But it's actually good. And I need to remind myself of this in Bible class when the same questions come up over and over and over again. Right? That's probably because these people who have heard the answers multiple times are just not totally satisfied with the answers because there's still this tension. We get to talk about it again, and that's good. We don't want to be in a position where we think we have resolved things to the point that we don't have to think about them anymore. We're talking about God. We're talking about His Word. We're talking about good news. We want these things to stay in our hearts. So the lesson for today is paradox over platitudes. right? Don't be afraid of a good paradox. Don't be afraid to wrestle with these things that don't seem to belong together. Don't feel like you have to resolve them where one wins out over the other or something like that. If God says this and this are true, then they are. Don't just learn to live with the tension. Learn to love it, like that coffee that you drink, not me, but that you drink in the morning. Right? We need to learn to love paradoxes because they're part of our theological life. They are part of our life in general, and they are certainly all over the place in God's Word. So, Chesterton says they actually complain of the paradox for not being a platitude. I would suggest we need to reverse that and complain about the platitudes that have taken away our blessed paradoxes given to us by God in His Word. Something for you to think about. As always, appreciate your comments. You like the message, pass it along, share it. I'd appreciate it. God bless you all. God bless your week.